All right, everybody. Hello and welcome back. My name is Becca from Poke Chop 80 Live. Don't ask about that. That's another story for another day. Doing the mental health awareness stream like I do every Tuesday, and I've invited another guest to talk to you and with me about mental health awareness and just pick his brain, his ideas, because he comes from a different life and household and mindset than my personal self. And it's so good to talk to other people about this. And the reason why I say that is because the statistics in the United States alone, every one in every five persons struggles with some form of mental disturbance. That's a good way to put it. Not illness, because that can be stigmatic, and I don't want to do that. And I'm one of the one in five, and I have learned to speak out because when I started speaking out, it was actually people could identify with it, and that shocked me. For 10 years, I remained silent. And I thought I was the only one. I felt like I was going crazy. And when I started speaking out to my loved ones, like my best friends, they were like, oh my gosh, so much of what you said, they're crying, I identify with. And I'm just like, that opened my eyes. And for years, I've been starting to speak out about it. But I started doing these streams back in February this year. And it's touching so many people. And that's exactly why I'm doing this. I get no accolades, it's not a stunt. I'm not doing it for publicity or acceleration. I'm doing it for the simple fact of awareness. People need to be aware of mental health and its importance and be informed because we can help each other, and that's why I'm doing this. So I have Matt here, and I'll let him introduce himself and what he does. And thank you again for being here. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, first, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to be on your platform. My name is Matthew Reis. I'm a resident of Mill, Georgia, Warner Robins. Been here since about '98. So, as of late, I've kind of been vaulted to the front of a social justice movement here in Middle Georgia. We've been a part of a lot of peaceful protests in the city. We're doing as much as we can, boots on the ground in Middle Georgia to make a difference with the social injustice, racial profiling, and police brutality as we can.
Yep, sweet. And I have seen some of your works and stuff, and that's why I reached out to you because I like what I see. I like what you're doing, and I appreciate that. Mad respect. I personally can't get out there and do that for my own reasons, and this is something that I can do. So I'm doing it.
Definitely, definitely. And I watched all the videos that you posted so far. I think it's an amazing, you know, not even just a gesture, but you're making a difference, a legitimate difference. And I think that's what everybody needs to do is, even if you're not able to go out there and protest, or you're not able to run for office or become a police officer or a city councilman, if you can the help benefit the human race in general, then I think I commend you. So
Exactly. So I'm going to ask you, you told us a little bit about yourself already, but can you tell us five things about you?
so 5 things about me. First off, I'm a father. My children don't live with me. I've dealt with custody issues for about 8 years now. Lack of time being spent with them, not because of lack of effort on my part, but uh, that kind of feeds into an area that I've dealt with as far as mental health, depression, anxiety. So I could definitely bring some insight because of those experiences. But I am a father, and I love it. My children mean everything to me. Everything, every breath I take, every time my heart beats, it's for my children. Another thing, so since COVID has started in about March time, I've pursued e-commerce stores. I've created 3 e-commerce stores. They're drop shipping stores. I encourage everybody to look into building their own e-commerce stores. They're a great way to supplement your income. very easy. It may sound like it's kind of complicated or difficult to do, but a few YouTube videos and you'll be able to launch your own sites. A third thing about me, I love the outdoors, from hunting, fishing, gardening, hiking. I love to be out in nature. A fourth thing, I am the king of food porn. I love food, all kinds of food. There's nothing out there that pretty much I won't eat. So I'm always like into trying new different types of food. Like I said, anything, man. Whether it's you know from different regions or different types of food, anything. And then the fifth thing, um, I'm really into financial literacy. I think America in general is they lack the understanding of money, and everybody thinks it's so difficult to make money. I'm not rich by any means. Let me make that very clear. Also, I'm working towards it though. But I think everybody has a misconception of how easy it is to not just make money, but use your money to make more money. I've gotten into the stock market about 3 years ago, and I really wish I had jumped into it when I was 18. I'm 36 now, so if if I was into this, like I said, when I was 18, as soon as you're able to start trading for yourself, I could definitely see it. It would have changed my life. But those are 5 quick facts about me.
All those, that's a lot. And I'm sure you can talk so much more in depth about every one of those. Some of I don't know you that much. I've met you months ago and I didn't remember it until I saw your
Hmm.
movement and I'm like, where do I know this guy from? And then it clicked. And then I've been watching your works and stuff. That much I knew about you, but the other stuff I didn't. So that's pretty cool. You got a lot. I love intelligence and thoughtfulness in people. That's awesome. And hopefully you can just continue inspiring and influencing other people. And the word influence, I emphasize. That's good stuff. We need good
I
people out
appreciate
there influencing people.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Okay, so we're going to dive right into the mental health questions. And I'm going to start off by asking you, what do you think that mental health is? What's your definition or your thought behind that?
I would say it's a balance of emotions. I think having emotions in general, whether you're happy, sad, afraid, proud, I think all of it is natural, but you need to find a balance in it all. And I think mental health is should be focused on creating that balance in yourself. I don't think anybody can necessarily do that for you. I think it's a matter of you kind of understanding yourself as a human, what you're able to process, how much you're able to process, triggers, um, balance emotionally.
Nice. Okay. I'm shaking my head. I had to mute my mic. Every time I do this, I have to mute my mic because I'm like, mm-hmm, and like shouting every, yes. I love that. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that mental health is important and why? What's your reason for answering the way you do?
So definitely, it's very important. I kind of just reflecting on like parts of my life, like I mentioned earlier, my children. Um, when I was going through, and it's still an everyday struggle, but when I was going through like the peak of my depression because of lack of time with my children, I noticed that I wasn't as good of a father as I could be because I was so caught up in the depression, the suicidal thoughts, the anxiety, and I wasn't able to focus on myself. I wasn't eating correctly. I had negative thoughts. They basically consumed my life. I wasn't able to devote the time or the effort or the emotion to my children, and they couldn't understand why I wasn't who I was, and or I wasn't who I could be, and they suffered from it. So I think it's definitely important for people to find that balance in their life, find that balance in their emotions. That way they could be the best person that they are, and it'll translate throughout all across their lives, whether it be with their family, with their job. um, I had a call. I hope that didn't interrupt anything. But yeah, I definitely think that finding that balance will spread over to their lives.
So what I heard you saying basically, I heard your story, but because you were suffering with it and you were sorting your way through it, it affected the people around you, especially your kids in your case.
Yes.
And it's important to find that balance because it not only affects you, but it affects people around you, people that love and care for you.
Yeah.
That's critical. That's critical information. I don't think, okay, so I too suffer with depression and stuff, and it's not. Let's see. Sometimes it feels like you're drowning, and
Hmm.
there's no hope, and you get lost. And a way to refocus is to focus on people. Not it's not only pulling through it for yourself, for the people that it affects as well, like your children. I have
Hmm.
a large family myself, and I mean, it trickles over to people outside of my household as well that care for me. So that's critical that's a good refocal point. Okay, I did give the stats. 1 in every 5 suffer from some form of mental disturbance. So the next question is, do you think, like, just thinking back to people around you, do you think that mental illness is a common thing?
Yeah, I was actually surprised by your by the statistic because, in all honesty, I bet you it's way higher. I think I don't think enough people report or are diagnosed with any type of mental disturbance. Um, it's kind of sad that the numbers are that high, and as far as like how we could fix it, I think having the dialogue, I think this right here helps people identify. I think keeping an open line of communication with your friends, with your family, I think that benefits, but definitely bringing awareness.
Beautiful. All right, we're going to get into something that's a little bit of a touchy subject, and it's stigma. Why do you think that there's such a stigma about mental health issues?
um for myself, what I was going through, and I could just speak from my personal experience, I would say the stigma is because uh, it's looked at as weakness. Um, I find a lot of strength in being vulnerable, being able to speak about my weaknesses. I find strength in that. If I'm able to, admit to either me being wrong in a situation or me being, uncomfortable in a situation, I think that's strength. And the stigma is like, oh, if you stay quiet, if you hold, if you bottle up all your emotions and stuff, then that's viewed as strength. And I completely disagree with that. I think if you're able to verbalize what you're going through, if you're able to, kind of break down your emotions and explain it to somebody, whether it be like a counselor, a friend, a significant other, I think that is where strength is.
There's a freedom in it to be transparent and be real
Oh
instead
yeah.
of putting on a mask and hiding, because that takes more effort than being real. Really.
Hmm. Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Mm. So my last question, we flew through this. Well, before I get there, is there anything else that you want to say? Like, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a wiggle room here, open platform about mental health.
Yes, something I want to address is well, something that works personally for me is setting myself up for wins. I think a lot of people, they want to get through life and they find themselves losing in small circumstances. Whether it's, let me think of a personal example. If like if I go apply for a job, right now I'm unemployed because of a crazy situation. But if I go apply for a job and I don't get the job, you know, it's demoralizing. So if you can focus your efforts on something and set yourself up for a win, whether it be to start off at a entry level position and work your way up, or if you want to start working out and you're watching YouTube videos, and these guys are like lifting all kinds of weights. If you start at a at a lower weight level, and gradually work your way up, instead of trying to start way up here and then realizing, dang, I can't do that. You know, like I said, I think gradually moving up in any circumstance, that has helped me. Another thing that's helped me is focusing on one of the things was focusing on my job. I kind of just like immerse myself in my work. At the height of my depression, I was managing a $1 million shoe store in the mall, and I literally would work 60, 70 hours a week sometimes. And it was a lot of work, but it was it was gratifying. It was rewarding, not just in a paycheck, but also, you could walk into I was able to walk into my store and be like, man, I busted my butt, and, it looks great. It's doing well. And that kind of goes back into what I was saying about wins. If you can focus yourself in on something that you are good at, whether it's a hobby, gardening, or knitting, or anything like that. And if you could immerse yourself into it, create something so that you can visually see it, I think that helps. I think having, like we touched on earlier, I think having the conversation with somebody who else has gone through a similar situation, being able to have that dialogue, open dialogue, and even if it's somebody you don't even know, a lot of times just verbalizing your problems to just get it off your chest or get it off your back is really important. Um, Another big thing that I started doing was I stopped watching and listening to anything negative, whether it be like fight videos on the internet or anything with like vulgarity or nudity or anything like that. I unfollowed all these Instagram pages, and all I follow now is anything about like informative pages, financial literacy pages. I love like Nat Geo, anything about nature, a lot of motivational, quotes and stuff. And, I think people get bogged down in what they see other people doing on the internet. People could just post whatever they want. They could literally just take a picture in front of a store and be like, oh, I'm about to buy out the whole store. And, they really not about to do that. And not necessarily being in competition with people, but being in competition with the person that you were yesterday. I think that really helped me. And not so much focusing on how you look, but more so how you feel. Eating right. All I really drink is water. I try to drink as much water as possible. Try to eat and drink, or eat as many fruits and vegetables as possible. That's helped me a lot, changing my diet. And like I said, focusing on financial literacy has been a huge help. I know, like, money can't buy you happiness, but I strongly encourage you to at least look into investing into the stock market, and seeing your money grow will make you smile. I promise you that. But yeah, those are some of the things that I love to do.
Man, so this conversation is priceless, and it's so compelling and convincing. Not that that was your intent, but you've been through it and you're sharing your success story. And that's the reason why I want to do these, because you've been there, I've been there, thousands of people in the US alone and millions around the world, which this video will reach people literally around the world, um, are looking for that way out, looking for that the breakthrough, just a breath.
Hmm.
And your story is refreshing to hear, because not only are you sharing your struggles, but you're sharing your victory and your way out, and you're giving them tools and techniques. And that's what I'm looking for. Thank you for that. That's awesome. The last question that I had for you was, how do you think we as a community can help those who are suffering?
I think empathy across the board. Understanding that everybody doesn't have the tools to solve their own problems. I think being able to identify with somebody who has gone through it. Like I said, I've been I've attempted suicide a couple of times, not just once, but at least twice. Um, and even after that, I felt like, damn, I'm not even good at killing myself. It was still demoralizing. But realizing that, you're here for a purpose. Uh, you may not be here to, you know, become president or anything, but you may be here to influence the next person. You may be here to, convey your story to the next person, and it's going to help that person get over their mental problems. And I think like just humanizing the issue and realizing that it's a legitimate problem here, not just in America, but across the world. Depression, anxiety, it's a real subject, and especially with everything that's been going on lately, COVID having a lot of people homebound. People's jobs might have been their release, their escape. Um, the police brutality, the killings of minorities by police, and the normalization of that. There's a lot of anger in people right now, and empathy will go a long way. Just understanding that just because somebody looks like they're doing well, they may not be doing well on the inside, and I think that'll help.
And that's my exact intent, is to normalize the stigma, to remove, to speak out and stop the stigma, because there's no place for a stigma in a world that needs love, full of hurting people. There's no place for it. And I want to bust that and break the doors wide open. It's normal to suffer with some form of anything. Mental health
Mhm.
is critical, and I really like how you started out by introducing it, saying it's a normal, like a balance.
Mhm.
We're going to come into stressful situations in our life. It's inevitable. It's part of being a human. And balancing that is the key. It's critical. And um, you've gone through hardships in your life and you're openly sharing about that, but not everybody has. But they will come into situations where I mean, loss is part of life. They're going to lose loved
Mhm.
ones, and that can affect their mental health status. They will be sad and depressed, and that's a normal thing. And there's no reason for a stigma. There's nothing wrong with being human and denying yourself that emotion, because it's part of life. We just
Mhm.
gotta find. You were saying you were sorting through your social media and getting rid of things that had a negative
Mhm.
impact on you. That's critical. And it's just like in life, you gotta surround yourself with people that you want to become, that bring out the best in you, because who you're around is what you'll become like.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And it's not just on social media, just negativity in general. If you have a friend or a loved one who's constantly being negative, you can remove them from your life. And it's not, a knock to them, but it's more about you. And like we touched on earlier, you can only be the best person that you allow yourself to be. So if you're constantly having, negative energy bombarding you and you don't remove yourself from it, you're essentially doing everybody around you an injustice too, because you're not able to be the best person that you are. And my kids definitely realized it. They could see the difference. Um, my friends also, uh, with depression is one of those things that it's almost like quicksand. You'll be having a great day, and then all of a sudden it'll bottom out, and you have to understand that those things are going to happen, and it's not what you go through, but how you go through it. So if you're able to, understand that, okay, I'm feeling a certain way. It's not going to last forever. It's going to last for these 10 seconds, for these 10 minutes. And then, you climb yourself out of that depression, and, use that as a stepping stone. It's natural to go have ups and downs, peaks and valleys throughout your day. And the idea is to, instead of them being like this far between, kind of close the gap, gradually close the gap, so that your peaks and valleys are more like this versus, going up and down like that. And it goes back to balance.
Yeah, man, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This conversation is priceless. Again, I really appreciate your willingness, and I had no idea that you were bringing all this insight to the table. And if it touches and influences just one person, this conversation was worth it.
Definitely, definitely, I agree.
Thank you so much for the work that you're doing and being a good influence and impact on our community, because I too am in Middle Georgia area, and I see you, and I'm not the only one that sees you. So,
I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you
and
so
I'm
much.
positive that you're not doing it for accolades or anything from it. You're just being,
No, to be honest, so I literally went to Atlanta the first day of the riots, and I went up there basically just to experience it, to be a part of it, to breathe the air, kind of feel the tension in the air, and to document. And it was it was disgusting to see, like, just the rage, the amount of like hatred and anger people had. And so I kind of just took it back to Warner Robins with the idea of, I want to protest in my city, but I want to do it effectively and peacefully. And so we started a protest that next day. I went up there on a Friday. I forgot the date. Excuse me. And the next day, Saturday, we started the protest. We had another one the following day on that Sunday, and then Monday I had meetings with the mayor, with city council members, the chiefs of the police forces here in Warner Robins and in Centerville, Georgia. And everybody's really been on some like, Matt, what can we do? What do we need to do? And I don't have all the answers. I was kind of vaulted to the forefront of this. This is definitely for sure not my movement. It's the people's movement. And I just happen to be the one up front. They've pushed me up front, and I've got a great team that I work with. We're doing a few events here in Middle Georgia in the upcoming weeks, and yeah, it's a movement moved by the people. So I don't, I definitely don't want any credit for any of this. I'm not benefiting from it financially. It is giving me a bigger social media platform, but everything I post on social media is you know, the same thing that I've been talking about. I post a lot of financial literacy stuff, a lot of, kind of wake up and see that big government isn't the answer, um, and just informative posts. So just kind of spreading positivity across the world.
beautiful. I'm gonna end it there. I mean, what else can we add to that? I appreciate you and what you're doing.
thank, thank you for having me. I really do. And again, kudos to you. I commend you for what you're doing on your end, and I really appreciate it.
Let's don't let it stop here, right?
I know that's right.
See you
Yep.
around.
You have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye bye.